In the meantime, though, returning to our discussion on what some of the governors have been doing in terms of refusing these unvetted refugees. I read this story the other day where I saw former Alaskan Governor Sarah Palin. She says, I was really close to feeling sorry for President Obama after his remarks on Syria. Of course, as you know, Governor Palin has an awesome new book out. It's called Sweet Freedom, a Devotional. And she's also New York Times best-selling author of Going Rogue, America by Heart. I mean, pretty much every book that she has out. Governor Palin joins us now. Thanks so much for joining us. It's good to talk with you.
Oh, thank you so much. It's an honor.
Well, and we love having you on the show, and I'm really excited to read your devotional as well, because I think this is just, gosh, it could not have come at a better time with everything our country is facing. And I want to ask you more about that. But, we see 26 governors now across the country are standing up to the administration, and they're saying, you can't do this to our citizenry. You can't do this to us, President Obama, and expect us to take these unvetted migrants in, particularly after what we saw two unvetted migrants do in Paris. What do you make of all of this?
Yeah, I'm so proud of these governors. I mean, they are just thumping Obama when it comes to understanding a government's role in an issue like this. Government leaders have to be practical, too, and not just idealistic like Obama is, and, singing his kumbaya and thinking that all these are innocent refugees that coming on over, and we're supposed to take them all in with no vetting process. You can't trust Obama's vetting process. You can't trust any kind of process that he would implement to assist the states in bringing people in and then having to provide for them. So these governors, they're practical. They're thinking about the logistics, and, of course, they're thinking about the big picture that, look, these it's not working real well in some other areas where immigrants have been embraced with open arms without a vetting process. Let's learn from that.
Right. And it's always the reaction is always, well, let's bring them here. And I wondered, and I had questioned earlier, well, where was the president's compassion when he had the opportunity to back the Kurds or just go after and bomb some of these supply routes in Iraq? The UN said that barely half of these refugees are even Syrian. A lot of them are from Iraq. And we could go over there, we could end the situation, but it seems, Governor Palin, that he's more interested in placating Iran and in placating Turkey, who really doesn't like the Kurds.
Well, where was he in terms of compassion for American Christians who have been jailed over in these foreign lands that they don't deserve to be slaves to? He, in some respects, all relative, he hasn't lifted a finger to help them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, we haven't heard anything from the administration about those or all of the Christians that have been just annihilated in Mosul. They used to have mass. They used to have Christian churches, and now the church bells stopped ringing for like the first time in 1,000 years or something like that. Right.
And, I wrote about that in my devotional, too, that, in the Bible it says Christians are going to be persecuted. Don't we wish that it said, we're not going to be persecuted, but we are. We're probably. Right. But that doesn't mean we have to sit there and suck it up and just accept it all. No, we have to fight back. It tells us in the Word, in the Bible, that we are expected to arm ourselves. Luke 22 says, Jesus told his disciples, hey, take up your arms, sell your cloak or whatever it takes to go buy a sword and arm yourselves and don't wait for somebody else to do it. There are places all over in the Old and New Testament where there is very, very clear language saying we are expected to take action and fight for the innocent, and we are to get out there and eradicate evil.
Right. I'm so glad that you mentioned that, and I'm so glad that you covered it, too, in your devotional, Sweet Freedom, because I'm sure you've seen some of the headlines, and, of course, it's the mainstream media that immediately they don't want Christians to be Christians if they're bakers or photographers or T-shirt makers or anything else, but they want to appeal to people of faith and say, I feel like emotionally blackmail Christians by saying, well, you must not be an authentic Christian then, if you're just not going to open up your doors to all of these unvetted refugees.
Well, yeah, and many liberals and many in the mainstream media, they try to do that to faith-filled Americans in so many respects, not just with the refugee situation, but say some lifestyle choices that if a Christian were to adopt, and I'm thinking specifically about my daughter being an unwed single mom, that she being so condemned, by the liberal press, and yet
Yes.
and it's because she's a conservative girl, a hardworking young 25-year-old woman. But if she were to be some liberal celebrity out there doing the same thing, she'd be praised and just this hero to all of them. So it's a culture war, and it's a literally national security war where these double standards that are applied to conservatives and those just with common sense protecting the Constitution, we kind of get hammered. But it should empower us, and it should empower us to be united and work even harder and make sure that we're part of a great awakening so that other Americans can see what the truth is. And that is the way that once we're exercising that, we put America back on the right track.
Right, and congratulations, by the way, on the you're expecting another grandchild. So congrats on that. And I was horrified to read some of the not everybody's perfect. I was a young mother myself. Not everybody's perfect. But I tell you what, if you had come out and announced that your daughter was having an abortion, she would be hailed as a queen and she would be celebrated. And it shows you where these people's priorities are, which I just found reprehensible, their reactions.
Yeah, and Dana, at this point, Bristol's she's about 40 days away from giving birth to a baby girl, and where we are at this point, I mean, it's a happy time. It's good,
Right.
She's embracing life. It's certainly not ideal situation, but don't we all go through learning experiences in less than ideal circumstances, and they make us better people in the end if we react appropriately to the circumstances. And I think that's what we're expected to do down here on Earth, is make the best of situations when life happens, and you ultimately use your experiences to help others.
Exactly. So tell me why you decided to do a devotional. You've always touched upon spiritual issues before. And I mean, obviously, you're a Christian, you're a person of faith, and you've always made that, that's who you are. You don't take it off just when you come home from church on Sunday, but you really set out to do a devotional this time. To me, it was sort of a slight change from the things you've written previously. Why did you take this path?
Well, I've journaled all my life, and it's been really important to me to seek in the Word the answers to personal challenges, personal struggles, and throughout my career, nearly 3 decades now in media and in politics, seeking in the Word answers to the challenges that our nation faces. And it is amazing that the Old and New Testament really are a perfect blueprint for how it is that we are to run our country and our personal lives. But, Dana, I'm pointing people to Scripture that answers specific issues like gun control, weaponry, specific issues that you can find the answer to in a Bible verse about taxation, about refugees, about going to war. People seem very worried and confused as to in these tumultuous times as to what can we do? Where's the answer? How do we know if a Christian's supposed to be out there, parading for, open carry ideas? And I'm like, hey, you know what? We are, because in Luke 22, Jesus is telling his disciples, take up your arms and let's go.
That's right.
In the Bible, it talks about taxation. Hey, we don't like to pay taxes, but we have to pay them. We will render unto Caesar what is due Caesar, but if we know that the taxation system is unjust, then we're expected to take action to change the system and to elect people, leaders who understand that and will do the changing for us.
Absolutely. I'm so glad that you wrote this, because I've seen this. I have seen discussions on exactly what you have detailed so often on the right and with Christians. And, we have these talks, over lunch after church with some of our fellow congregational members, our brethren, and these topics are coming up a lot because they're looking to the Bible for answers, particularly because the world seems crazy. I mean, just before you came on with us, we had a development in Germany where they found a truck bomb in an ambulance and loaded with explosives. And every single day there's a horrific headline. People want to protect themselves, but they want to make sure that every decision that they do, they want to take it to God first. They want to go to prayer first before they make that decision, and they have a lot of questions. And I think this book is a great roadmap for that.
Well, I think we're going to be able to save them a lot of time then. They don't have to overthink some of these issues because we'll point them in the right way. We have seen biblical leaders ordering others to arm themselves with swords at the time. And in the Old Testament, the justice of self-defense, it's taken for granted. I think that most Americans know in their hearts and their bones that they know that self-defense is a natural right. And we just can't let confused liberals tell us otherwise.
Right. Oh, absolutely. The book is Sweet Freedom, a Devotional. Governor Sarah Palin, always a pleasure. So good to talk with you today.
Hey, always a pleasure to hear from you. And I tell you, speaking of guns, I learned more about these different types of arms and weaponry from you than anybody else. So keep it up.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you for that. That's a compliment. I
You're
appreciate
awesome.
that. Governor Sarah Palin, Sweet Freedom. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Mm-hmm. And it is, I'm so glad that there is something out there like this, particularly, like I was just saying, you have people saying, well, you're not a real Christian if you I had someone say, you're not a real Christian if you carry a gun. How dare you? Jesus is against murder. Jesus is not against self-defense, though.